Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 11th July 2017. The first article, the think tank and the ashram. So the ashram was the old form and think tank is the modern form of intellectual inputs. So ashram is compared in the context of the Gandhian values and the think tank is compared in the context of modern day knowledge development and also policy understanding. So, if you take the Riggs in public administration, he also had tried to compare the modern societies with the traditional societies. There he has given value to the modern societies over the traditional societies. Here Shiv Vishwanathan, he tried to portray the ashram way of life is more ethical and value loaded, and that is what is to be revived today. So let me put it this way. An ashram signifies a value loaded combination of ethics, knowledge, and a way of life intertwined with each other. So, when ethics, knowledge, and politics all are intertwined, then such a practice can lead to a kind of a trusteeship. So, Gandhi, when he spoke about the trusteeship in Swaraj, this is having an ethical value to the governance. On the other hand, the think tank, they try to see knowledge as a strategy. They consider knowledge as value neutral and transactional. So for them, knowledge is means to achieve something else. So here, the think tank, it is trying to project the knowledge as secrecy and free flow of the information across the communities, and learning from the communities is getting minimized. In Gandhian ashram style, there is a continued flow of learning and knowledge between the communities and the intellectual spaces. Today, the think tank have isolated the intellectual spaces from the communities. Because of this too much of power consciousness the think tanks have, it made them much vulnerable, or they made them distant from being independent. On the other hand, ashrams always enjoyed the moral authority and to raise the voice against the power. So think tanks are more acting like the extensions of the power. So that's why in today's world, ashram style, where the strength of the voice, continuity between the society and the learning and knowledge shall exist. That has to guide the ethical premise of our living. That is what Mr. Shiv Vishwanathan talks about. Bring the house up to date. It is about privileges of the house. Now, if you see, there was a question 2 years back on the privileges of the house. So, you know, Article 105 of the Constitution and Article 194, they provide for the privileges. The privileges of the legislature in India are not codified. So, according to these articles, it is the responsibility given to the legislatures to codify their privileges. In the meanwhile, the privileges of the parliament will be equivalent to that of the House of Commons. Why this issue of privileges has come up? Now, when English monarch was all powerful, she used to harass the legislators or parliamentary members for their independent voice. So then there came word privileges. And even today, if you observe, United Kingdom do not use the privileges, and any of the comments against the legislature or legislative members, they are not being considered as the violation of privilege of the house. And if you take Australia, it has codified its privileges. And if you go to House of Representatives in US, there are no privileges stated for it. So in India, the privileges are stated. They are not codified. Because of this, there is a discretion for House and its members. So in this context, the way forward is all of them have to be re-examined and they have to be put in the context of the fundamental rights of the citizens and need to be codified. And they also need to be subjected to the judicial scrutiny. That's what this article talks about. The Hamburg tussle, it is about the recent G20 summit. So here, all the world leaders are able to engage with each other. There are certain personal interactions between President Trump and Putin, Indian Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping. Along with that, All the world leaders have committed themselves to create or to fight against protectionist measures and to promote the fair trade across the countries. And second is, the United States of America and its roundabouts during the Trump's era are also being exposed. And G20 meet to an extent is direct in taking the recent or in criticizing the recent actions of Mr. Trump. So one way we can put this as this way: the world leaders have found the way to work around Mr. Trump. So in spite of this reactionism from the Trump, how to get the results out of the United States of America, the world leaders have learned a lesson. That's what is being stated here. The targeting trawling. So in Park Bay, Indian fishermen, that is from Tamil Nadu, they practice this, the trawling, bottom trawling it is called as. Heavy nets with heavy weight gaze is being dropped into the bottom and these are expected to catch the fish. So in this process, entire bottom is destructed and it is an unsustainable practice. The north and the eastern Sri Lankans, especially the Tamils living in north and eastern province, they have complained about this. In spite of this, this have become an issue between India and Sri Lanka. And second is, the government or the legislature of Sri Lanka has passed a law criminalizing this trawling. So a penalty and imprisonment can be awarded for the same. So it is in the good for the sustainable fishing. But however, it can also threaten the livelihoods of the Tamilians over there. So what is the way forward? So Tamil Nadu government shall take up special interest to bring in or to train these people in deep sea fishing and to provide them with the necessary gear. So a sustainable deep sea fishing the people can be encouraged for. That's what this article is talking about. Breeding between the numbers. It is about family planning. Now let's understand, today is the World Population Day and the theme of this is the family planning. So population of India is expected to overtake China by 2024. So what are the lessons we need to learn from this? The first is, no developmental planning can be separated from population and the population composition. The age of the population, gender composition, all this will influence the developmental outcomes. So in this case, India is going through a favorable age composition, which is often called as demographic dividend, where young age population is higher. But at the same time, lack of the skills is the major challenge. On the other side, when the populations rise, when there is a resource crunch, worst affected are the vulnerable. Among them, women comes the forefront. Any strategy that tries to look at the population control makes the woman as an instrument, and they consider reducing the reproductive choices for them. So here we need to remember that empirically it is proven that education of the girl child and reproductive choices to the woman can better control the population rather than reducing or forcing the woman for sterilization. And then another phenomenon is growing in the country. Recently, certain saints, they started talking that a woman has to produce more to raise the population of Hindus this is what is the kind. So the population rise is not linked to religion. So here these people are talking about, these seers are talking about the group power in numbers, in crude form of numbers. So the group power has to increase, it means numbers have to increase and women has to conceive more, that's what is the talk. Remember here, the conception is not related to religion, it is more connected with poverty. The poor people conceive more as they have no guarantee of protecting their children. So increasing or rising income levels can act as a protection against the population rise. That is what is the article. And then the Great Indian Migration. So here the north south are very much different from each other. The north it has got young population and south has got the aging population in India. It means the next bulge of the growth is supposed to occur in the north because of the demographic dividend. So the north is not well developed and there is a great prospect for the development of the north. In this process, the north to south migration is imminent. So it can lead to new socio-cultural frictions. We shall be able to create mechanisms to address this. Now let's go to the front page. Cyber attack linked to glitches in Reliance Jio National Stock Exchange is under probe. If you take the NSE or Reliance Jio, most of them have used the Chinese equipment. So in this context, any sabotage exists from the foreign country. That is what is being examined. Now, let's go to the world page. Liu Xiaobo is in critical condition. He was the Nobel laureate and he was arrested by the Chinese government and he is facing a deathbed in China. So the human rights activists ask him to be shifted to the another country. Now at the end of this I have given you the notes. This notes is available at laix.in/test civils prep. laix.in/civils prep. Remember one more point over here. Today, to simplify the think tank and ashram debate, it took a lot of time for me. Because Shiv Vishwanathan writes articles in a complex manner, I used to frighten to read them before. Now I learned some pattern to understand, to simplify and prepare your notes. So these articles are more valuable for you for your ethics paper to add more information and also quality of learning. So that's why instead of reading that article which you can't get much of information, read this particular notes. It will be helpful to you. It is much simplified. Thank you very much and all the best.